come up with, honestly.
Welcome back, gents and ladies. And in case someone just turns us on for their pets when they're out of the house, hello, Poochie. Welcome
Hello.
to another episode of The Nerd and the Scientist, brought to you by Science, actually. How's it going, Kovi?
Welcome to our digital recording studio. It's going good.
Digital.
I'm good. How are you doing today, Benjamin?
Good. Sitting down in this here chair, talking to this here microphone, looking at your gorgeous face in this here laptop.
Oh, shucks.
Shucks.
You. Oh, man. For any of our listeners who have been following the past few episodes, we hope you've been enjoying. I know that we did an episode on Star Trek and the science of Star Trek, and you might be wondering, well, hey, what about Star Wars? Well, we are going to do an episode on the science of Star Wars. That is coming down the pipeline soon, and we're going to try to make that an extra special episode for y'all. So stay tuned for that. Yes.
Can we do a really cool prequel episode for the Star Trek episode that simply explains repeatedly how horrible the prequel movies are?
I think that we could do a prequel episode for the Star Wars episode, but only if we spend the entire episode describing specific bureaucratic and administrative details that are not really of interest nor drive the plot forward in particular. And we'll make sure that episode takes 3 times longer than it should have. I think that would work well.
I like it. Okay, good. Noted.
Oh, man. Yes, so that will be coming. But for those who have listened to our previous episode and you're listening chronologically, thank you. The last episode that we did was an episode on NASA spin-offs, inventions that came from space down to Earth, or in some cases tried to go up into space and didn't make it, and in other cases are in space now and could one day have a very important role to play here on Earth. And we thought you guys loved that episode so much that we wanted to do a part 2, a little second part. Part 2. So yes, that was this is part B, and that was part A. And we will continue telling you a little bit more about some interesting NASA spin-offs in this second part of space-based technology.
Party!
You like that one?
I do very much. It's a party over here. Part B over here.
Part B over here, yes. Previously, if you haven't listened to the previous episode, you should go and listen to Part A. But yeah, this
because
is
it's a Part A. Oh God, I'm not going to stop doing that.
I love this bit.
All day
it's a
today.
great. I know that there are people out there who tune into this show not for the science, not for the nerddom, and not even for the jokes, but just to hear the sound of Benjamin and myself laughing and then literally coughing with laughter, because that's what you want to hear. You know, I driving into my office at the university today, and I was like, I don't want to listen to a podcast that feels heavy, but I can't decide what music I feel like listening to. I wish I could just have an audio track of somebody coughing and laughing. So yes, we are filling that niche. We are filling that niche.
Cool.
Yes. But today, as we said, we are doing part 2 of NASA spin-offs. Benjamin, what are some of the NASA technologies or space technologies invented for space that we didn't get to in part A?
Well, we're having such a good time in the party that we didn't have time to get to what actually I mentioned earlier, the laptop. The first laptop, as we know what a laptop is today, was invented for and with NASA. The first laptop came about in 1980, but it was really just a huge honking computer that someone added a belt to, and you strapped it over your shoulder, and you could lug it to some other person's house, and still had to plug it in, still had to connect it to a TV, and that's yes, it was portable, but so was the original computer you bought, and you transported it from the store to your house. But the first laptop, as we know what a laptop to be today, which is a computer device, has its own keyboard, has its own battery power, has its own screen, and is able to perform tasks on its own,
Huh.
was was called the Grid Compass. And it was first used in 1982 aboard the Space Shuttle. It was a small screen. It was a text-only screen, and it allowed
Hmm.
for a maximum of 25 lines of text, about 120 characters each. So basically, if you can imagine 25 tweets, and that's it, or 25 X's. Now, I guess that's what they call. I don't know what they call it, but the first laptop was first used on the space shuttle for basic communication, just typing simple responses, and also for just logging um, little data points from experiments that were being done on the space shuttle. Just you could type in some basic results, usually numeric results, measurements and stuff. And it was very good. It was also used for some space shuttle control, but even though that was primarily done through the control panel in the cockpit of the space shuttle, they still did some tests that you could do it through this device. And that was the first laptop as we know it today, sort of. Now they're much better, of course, and you can play, Fortnite and whatever. But back then, that was the first.
It's amazing. I'm just looking here at some of the stats, and I love the fact that it had a whopping 340 kilobytes of memory on it.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild.
It was something.
For reference, I think my first MP3 player, which is one of those like MP3 players that had a USB port, like you could take off the cap and it had a USB port and you could plug it into your computer directly. That was 128 megabytes, and this we're talking about like 0.3 megabytes, and that 128 megabytes could store it could store an entire Gorillaz album. That's how much storage it had. So this was a fraction of that,
Gorilla's album.
a couple of orders of magnitude. Yeah, and
This little doodad here is an external hard drive of mine,
you
and it is half a terabyte. So
half a terabyte.
half a terabyte, 500 gigs, compared to what MP3 players were. It's hysterical how things have progressed over time.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, this computer,
crazy.
like at the time, I think cost like 10 grand. I mean, well, inflation adjusted, it'd probably be in today's dollars like 25, 30 grand, and it did a couple of tweets worth of computing.
But it did work, and it was handy.
It worked. It did the job. It's wild. Wow. Okay, cool. First computer in space.
First computer.
Love it.
Are you comfortable? Are you sitting comfortably? When you sleep, do you lay down comfortably? What kind of mattress do you have?
Mattress. My mattress has like a layer of like memory foam to it that remembers the shape of my awkward body.
Yeah. Do you sleep well?
I
pause
do.
this
I love my mattress.
recording so you can call NASA and you can thank them for the memory foam. I'll wait. Go call NASA. Say thank you for the memory foam.
Hold on.
Yes.
Hold on. Let me
NASA invented memory foam in the 1970s for pilot seats. NASA they fly rocket ships, of course, but more people fly on NASA jets and planes than do on rocket ships. And they wanted a more comfortable seat that actually helped keep circulation going for long duration flights for pilots. And they also wanted you to be comfortable. And so they invented
Match.
memory foam for pilot seats, and those proved so successful. They went for the upgrade and put them in all the space shuttle seats. So all NASA astronauts and other guest astronauts that were launched on the space shuttle were launched in some manner of comfort. And now it proves to be such a good material and such a comfortable material, and more importantly, a, a long duration, durable material. It could be used over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Uh, Mattresses were made of the same material, almost exactly actually, and now we have memory foam mattresses.
So
Thank you, NASA
the
and
connection
airplanes.
is the connection to NASA is super interesting, but I just got stuck on this idea of like astronauts being launched in comfort because I've spoken to astronauts and the thing going through their minds when they're sitting on a launch pad strapped to thousands of tons of explosive material is, oh right, this was built by the lowest bidder. There were multiple contracts offered to build this thing, and NASA went for the one
Mm-hmm.
who was offering to do it for the cheapest. And they're about to ignite that.
But at least I'm
So yes,
comfortable.
it's at least I'm comfortable. I like that. I wonder if they have also a memory foam in their sleeping pods because I know that in the what's it called in on the International Space Station they have these sleeping bags that are basically vertical, but what is vertical in space, right? That they basically like stand in this sleeping bag and close it, and hey presto, they're lying down, but they're lying up, but they're lying sideways. I guess you wouldn't really need the
They're
memory foam there because you're just floating in the sleeping bag.
no, well, you might because you're kind of in a sleeping bag. You're kind of like in this closet of a sleeping bag, I guess, and you pretty much stow yourself away. And even though you kind of comfortably strap yourself into this thing, you're still you and your sleeping bag and whatever belongings you might have in your little pod, like a blanket from home or a pillow just to make things more cozy or comfortable or whatever. It's all floating
Hmm.
around. So it makes sense if it was all lined at the very least with some sort of foam because I believe your arms pretty much float while you're sleeping. So that's cool.
Yeah, I think generally
Yeah.
they need to tuck their arms into the sleeping bag because yeah, otherwise they'd just be like sleeping, like they look like they're doing a Mexican wave while they're sleeping or something like that. Probably not be ideal.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think those sleeping bags would be interesting to see what technology they use. But memory foam that's interesting to know that they developed it for those kind of high acceleration uh,
Mm-hmm.
seats that are used uh, for the shuttle launches, etc. Cool. I like it.
Awesome. Very cool. Mm-hmm.
What else have we got?
Well, speaking of sleeping in a zero or micro G environment, when you're living in that type of environment, um, you're not fighting gravity, and therefore your muscle mass and your bone mass starts to dwindle away ever so slightly, and it could
Mm,
be a problem. So, astronauts have to find a way to simulate gravity so they can work out while they're in space. A large portion of
yeah.
an astronaut's time in space is spent at the gym. It truly is. An hour, sometimes 2 hours a day. You're working out because you need to keep yourself strong.
Mm-hmm.
And NASA needed to find a way to help astronauts work out in space without gravity. And NASA worked with an inventor by the name of Paul Francis at the Johnson Space Center to make, this is what they called it, the weightless weight trainer. And it was created with a series of elastic resistance components. And it was so successful that they flew it up to the space station. It was very lightweight and has lots of parts, but it all compacts very nicely. And when you need to open it, it opens up, spreads open. It has all the different little gizmos that you can attach to it to increase the resistance of what you're pulling. And it was on the International Space Station in the year 2000, 5 years before it was introduced to the public as what we know as the Bowflex. So if you know what the Bowflex looks like, you know exactly what it looked like on the space station 5 years before it was made available to the open market. Astronauts were getting swole, bro, up in space.
I love that. So if you are a fan of those late night TV commercials where they're advertising a 101 workout device, this special machine developed by NASA scientists will help you get fit, get into shape, and get gains on those muscles. Yeah, I guess the Bowflex is, and its advertising is thanks to NASA. Huh, that's good to know. That's interesting.
NASA's the best.
I wonder.
They're awesome.
I feel like I was kind of leaning into ad territory there, so I'm wondering if now is a good time for this week's ad.
Sure. If you ever have that itch in those hard to reach places, worry no more. Discover the revolutionary Quantum Touch Back Scratcher as the ultimate solution for itch relief without irritation. Scratch and don't scratch. Using cutting-edge quantum technology, this innovative device provides soothing back scratching experience like no other. Say farewell to discomfort and hello to pure relaxation. With the Quantum Touch, every single scratch is gentle, every itch is soothed, and every moment is pure bliss, even though it didn't happen. Embrace the future of comfort with Quantum Touch Back Scratcher. Your back will thank you.
Both available and sold out now at the same time.
Schrodinger's back scratcher. You'll feel better and you won't. Available now or not. That would be a great comic book.
Yeah. For all
The
those micro
Schrodinger's.
itches you can't scratch. Schrodinger. Oh, that would be cool. Like a comic book that you could read backwards and forwards, and it would the opposite things would happen.
Cool.
It'd be like a split timeline.
That would be kind of cool.
But then you'd need to make it a multi-dimensional comic book for every possible outcome. Yeah. Man, I need coffee. It is relatively early in the morning here, and it's been a long week. Clearly, I need more caffeine before I start coming up with other brilliant ideas. But I would definitely buy the Quantum Back Scratcher. That's a good one.
Who wouldn't? I like it. The Quantum Back Scratcher. Yeah.
Is there another piece of NASA technology that maybe utilizes some sort of quantum science, or something that utilizes back scratching science, if such a thing exists?
I don't know. But if there was such a thing as a quantum back scratcher, you'd have to plug it in to charge it, and it would let you know, I'm sure, with an LED light that it was charged. Speaking of LED lights, my own little setup. Did you know that the first LED light, I can't believe this is true, was invented in 1907. A second technique for making an LED light was invented in 1927. But it wasn't until 1963 that Texas Instruments, thank you, Texas Instruments for my calculator, they produced the first practical LED light, a small, round, portable, lightweight light. That's very similar to what some LED lights are today. Clunky, it was in its own little metal tube container, but what was inside the tube is very similar to the LED lights we use today. It was called the SNX 110, and it went to production in 1967. And LEDs have been in use for a number of different companies for a number of different reasons ever since. But NASA was the very first to use LEDs for growing plants in space and for using them as mood enhancers for astronauts while they're traveling in space. Um, LEDs are able to replicate a wide range of light colors, and so they can help simulate, I guess you could say, sunrise and sunset colors, daylight colors, or white light. And it's quite interesting how these lightweight lights have been used for so many different uses in space because everything has to be small, everything has to be light, everything has to be versatile,
Hmm.
and LEDs definitely provide that.
LEDs are definitely light.
Mm-hmm. They're in my kids' rooms, and
It's
that's why they never turn off.
it's it's interesting how we've also come back to the we were discussing solar panels and solar cells in our first in the part A of our NASA spin-off series, but yeah, LEDs also work with a similar um, semiconducting material where you can basically have light being emitted when an electrical current flows through it, and so it's a similar technology. It's wild to me that that was invented for space. Um,
Uh-huh.
fascinating, fascinating stuff.
Fascinating. Fascinating.
Yes, I also did not know
Mm-hmm.
that the first LED was invented in the early 1900s. It's crazy.
This is one of those episodes I mean, I love doing this show because it's just fun. But I also love doing this show because it requires doing a lot of homework and reading up on some stuff. And I surprise myself constantly along the way when we prepare for episodes. Like the last one, the first solar cell or solar panel, excuse me, was created not too long after the Civil War in the 1880s. That's ridiculous. And the first LED light was created before World War One. That's ridiculous. I mean, these are some things you don't think of, but we are a crafty species.
Very, very crafty. What's interesting
Very
as well as a
crafty,
fun
very crafty.
fact is that Henry Round, the guy who created that first LED in 1907. So not only was he an assistant who worked with Marconi, the guy who basically known for creating the wireless telegraph and radio, but Henry Round also at the start of World War II was part of the team that developed sonar. Fun fact there, right?
Wow. Love that. Love
Wild.
that. It's always that one
Gotta
guy
love.
you come across who just invents a bunch of stuff.
Yep. And then
Awesome.
another guy who just steals those inventions.
Hey, hey, we're talking about not stealing parts. We're keeping it fun and happy here.
Fun and happy, yes.
Fun and
And
happy.
speaking of fun and
You
happy,
know, it's
yes, I do love the fact that there are so many inventions that we've already spoken about that have made a huge difference to life here on Earth. I know
Mhm.
that we didn't specifically speak about it, but there was a famous quote from Robert Heinlein, who's a sci-fi writer in the 70s, um, who had basically said that he had a bypass surgery that there were four different NASA technologies that made the surgery possible. So,
Wow.
like, there are so many great tangible examples of where NASA technology has become useful. And I think that we're only going to continue seeing this sort of thing happen as we kind of push the frontiers of space exploration.
Hmm.
In the same way that we have figured out how to recycle water on the International Space Station, as we were talking about in the previous episode. Um, Similarly, we're looking to build settlements. The Artemis mission is, going to build a settlement on the moon, and we'll test that out and we'll figure out what it looks like and practically how it works to build things using materials that we find there, decomposing the lunar regolith, the moon dirt, into building things and 3D printing there. And then we'll eventually do the same thing here on Earth. I think that we'll, continue to see these technologies being developed that will make life on Earth better.
Absolutely. The only way to keep going forward is to invent new things. And then once you have these new things, it just becomes a new tool that society can use to make more things. It's actually fascinating.
I love it. Space is cool.
Space is cool. More? Or are we? Or how are we doing? How are we feeling? We're feeling good.
I think we can do it. Let's do one more.
One more.
One more.
All right, everybody. We're saving this for the end. For those of you who stayed up late enough to get to this final hour of this episode, we're going to talk about lube. We're going to talk about lube. Yeah, lube. I like lube. NASA needed a solution to keep things coated with a nice, decent, always smooth lubricant. But in parts of engines and compressors and turbochargers where the moving parts got incredibly hot, and you couldn't have a moistened or oily type of lubricant there because it would react poorly. It could catch fire, or it would just dry out and become useless, whatever. So NASA needed to develop something that was dry and still very slippery, at least when rubbing against itself. So they created something called PS300. It is a metal bonded chrome oxide coating with some silver, because a little bit of silver, make it nice and classy. And it could withstand all sorts of pressures, could withstand a great range of heat, and it would always keep sliding against itself. So if you have like a nice little joint or something in a very highly active component of some sort of machinery where lots of motion, lots of heat, lots of friction, and where a regular lubricant would not survive, you would spray this granular material in there, and it would just more or less seal itself off and it'll continue working. It needs to be replaced a little bit more often than a regular liquidy type lubrication, but still it serves its purpose. And there are other variations of it as well. There's a PS200, PS100, in which the silver is substituted for some other element so they could serve different purposes or work in different environments. So dry lubricant. Way to go, NASA.
Interesting.
For a good time. Yeah. Dry lube.
Yeah, they're up there on the PS300, and I'm still stuck here on my PS4. And that's.
I have a PS2, so we're even. But I have two PS2s. They are currently right there, stacked on top of each other, which equates to a PS4.
Yes, because that is how math works.
That's exactly
love it.
Right.
Oh man, this has been a great episode. I like it.
It has been.
I feel like we say that a lot, but I enjoy the learnings that we do. We did a previous
I
episode.
do enjoy the learnings that we do. You might call this episode a part B, but I still call it a party.
Woo! Love it. Every 2-part episode or multi-part episode from now on will be labeled with letters.
It's going to start with a part A.
I should not have shared that joke with you because you will abuse it.
Damn right I will.
I love it. Well, thank you, folks at home or in the car, wherever you're listening or watching this show. This has been another fun, delicious, well-lubricated episode of Science Actually Presents The Nerd and the Scientist. Benjamin, where can the people find you if they want to learn more things?
Dear good people, dear good, beautiful, shiny people. If you'd like to find out more about the Nerd and Scientist, or just want to find me, you can find me under the name of Science Actually on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, Hive, Mastodon, TikTok, LinkedIn. And if you'd like to watch these episodes, please, 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 please go swing on over to TikTok and look up Science Actually. We're starting to put up all of our past episodes in bite-sized chunks, so you can not only hear our voices, but you can actually see how gorgeous, really, just gorgeous we really are. Kavi, where can the people find you?
The people can find me at Fun Fact Science on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Blue Sky. I don't know. Just Google Fun Fact Science and see what you find. Let us know. You
Just
might even
Google it.
find that
Just Google it.
that Dashin, that little wiener dog on Instagram. We've spoken about that in previous episodes. And yeah, let us know. Let us know at Fun Fact Science and at Science Actually what you like in this show, what you don't like in this show, what you want to hear more of, what you want to hear less of, and if you'd like to see us wearing any silly hats in future bite-sized episodes that you see on TikTok.
That's right.
It's been great. We will see
Silly hats.
y'all
That's where it's at.
next time. See ya.
Later. See you at the movies, as they say on the